So while on the college hockey podcast, we mainly focus on hockey at the Division III, Division II, NCAA level. There's so much more in the world of college hockey, including ACHA, where today's guest has spent the last 2.5 years playing for the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers in his home state of New Jersey. Before that, he spent 3 years at the juniors level within the Met and the EHL Premier with the New Jersey Rockets, and then his age out year with the New Jersey Renegades, where he became my vet. Welcome to the podcast, Nick Monticchio, also known as Ticco. What's up, dude? How you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me today.
Like I said before we started, I'm pumped up to have you on. You're one of the funniest dudes I ever played hockey with. I mean, you got a personality. That Renegades team we were on was
Oh,
that was a big personality team right there. I think it
it
was like the last good Renegades team there was.
it was definitely a bunch of clowns that were there. I mean, I remember we had Tom Brady, not the Patriots Tom Brady, but we had Tom Brady, Alec Dugan, John Questel. Like it was like Josh Davis. Like everywhere and anytime like there was someone cracking some kind of joke, making some kind of just funny remark, like every single day there was something funny and everybody was having a good time with it. But that team was probably like, out of all the teams I've been a part of, that might be one of the biggest like personality teams I've been a part of.
There's so many things we're gonna dive into. Next, kids dads, not girls. So many. Pat Brake taking a piss on a girl's bathroom door on a
It
road
was
trip.
it was like there's just so many things about that season like I forget about, and then all of a sudden like because I still played like men's league with Patty, and I see a couple guys from that team, and it's just like all of a sudden we start talking about the season. It's just like, oh, we forgot about this, we forgot about that. I mean, like it's just like I said, every single practice and game, like there was something different that was happening.
It was unreal. But we're gonna flash back a little bit. We're gonna go backwards a little bit. We're gonna go back to Hillsborough High School, where you played high school hockey. And there's 3 levels of high school hockey in New Jersey. The bottom is South Jersey, where it's club hockey, not affiliated with the high school. Some good kids, some bad kids. In the middle tier, the only reason why it's above it is because it's affiliated with the high school. It's Central Jersey. It's where I played high school hockey.
Hmm.
You're lucky if you have one, maybe 2 travel hockey players, let alone tier 1 players. My high school hockey team, we had 3 tier 1 players and 2 junior players on it at the same time at one time. So we went like 14, 4-1, including states.
Yeah.
Like we were unbelievable because of that level. And you played obviously Northern Jersey high school hockey, Hillsborough high school hockey, perennial state champs. I don't know the last time a state champ didn't come from North Jersey. What was it like playing where you were competing and it was competitive every night for the high school hockey season?
Honestly, like, it was probably one of the tougher leagues in the state when we got going. I know my freshman year we had 4 kids that we were playing like tier one, and like or juniors or something like that. I know one kid was playing on the Wildcats, and then we had a couple kids on the Hitmen. But I just remember those games, like it was like, especially as a freshman, like you're watching these senior kids playing, and it was like you're at a whole different level. Like, and it's every single game. It did not matter who you were playing. Like every single game was a fight to the end. Like there was no easy games by any means. And then even like the non-league games that like we were setting up, like it was like we were playing like Randolph, who was like back in like I know they're still good now, but like back in the day, like they were powerhouses. We played Morris Knowles, Morristown. Like these teams were, I mean, like they were just like built like at a different level. So playing against like teams like that, like it was just crazy. And like I said, like there was no games where it was just like, oh, yep, like here we're gonna walk in and win a game. Like every single game was a battle.
And obviously, like we played the Flemington Ice Arena for the Renegades. Hunter and Central and Hillsborough, they share it as their home rink for high school hockey.
Mm.
I think they had a game after or before us, and it's so funny because we're like the junior hockey team. We're supposed to like be the face of the rink, and they I think had like 4 times the amount of fans at their game for that.
Yeah,
They literally had their entire schools at the game.
yeah.
It was unbelievable.
So when I was still playing for Hillsborough, like they were at a different rink. So we were playing at Pro Tech. But I remember playing like numerous games, and I remember always like, especially coming in as an opponent, like I would remember sitting on the bus, and like I'm getting like chills right now just thinking about it. Like I remember like walking into that rink, just knowing that that place was going to be packed, and I mean like packed. And I believe I scored my first high school goal at that rink, and I just remember like to this day, like I'm like still getting chills just thinking about it, and I just remember the whole building like going silent because like they were like everything was rolling for Hunter and Central. Like I think it was like they were up by 1 or something. And I got the goal and I tied it. And I'm just hearing the building go silent. And like you could hear a couple people because like there was a couple of Hillsborough people there, but it was just crazy. And I just remember still like to this day, like looking around the whole glass. And I mean, from one bench's side, wrapped all the way around the glass, all the way to the other bench's side, there was just people everywhere. There's people like up, like standing like up on rafters, like up on the stands, like just people everywhere. And I mean, like there must have been at least like 500, 600, 700 people at these games. And when you would step onto the ice and like there would like a play would happen, like you would hear it. And I still remember like to this day, like we played them in a shootout during one of the playoff games. And I just remember skating during the overtime and like you were just getting chills, like skating around, like everybody's on top, like everybody's watching you. And we went into the shootout and we ended up winning. And I just remember like, because Hillsborough were so close to 100 Central, like it was like split 50-50 and the building just like erupted. And like, it was like a whole big like commotion because it's like, now you have like half of Hillsborough fans and half of 100 Central fans. Like, then like there was like the police officer were like sitting there trying to make sure like there's not going to be any like commotions and stuff. But I just remember like those high school games, like those buildings would get packed and it was just a different kind of atmosphere. I know junior hockey's like, it's crazy enough as it is, but I mean, having that many fans there and just like cheering you on and like reacting to all the different plays, like it was just like, I still get chills like to this day. And I haven't played high school hockey in almost 10 years now.
Yeah, that's actually like unreal to think about. I was thinking about it last night about like just how old I was. I interviewed a girl for athletics at Franklin Pierce. She graduated 2 years before I got to Franklin Pierce. She graduated 2017, and her first year in college was the year I had my bar mitzvah. And it's just like, gee, that's that long ago.
Yeah,
Like,
I
holy
know
shit!
I know it's like crazy to think about how long ago it was now. But but like the other thing, I remember it was my like first shift playing high school hockey, and I was a sophomore. Like I somehow like got onto the roster, and like it was like middle of the first period. And I remember my coach just like hitting me up. He was like, "You need to go. Like, here, go. Here's your first shift." And I remember like just jumping over the boards, and we were playing Pingree. And again, the building was packed, and we had never beaten Pingree to this date. And I just remember I don't even remember anything. I stepped on the ice and I was like, I just almost forgot like how to play because I was like just so like freaking out. And I remember I saw a kid coming out of the zone and I just made a beeline, like just straight across the blue line. I was like, okay, well, like I need to hit this kid because I'm not gonna let him get into the zone and I need to start off my shift right. And I just leveled this kid, and all of a sudden I deafening, like it was a deafening noise because it was a home game, and the building just is erupted. And I remember like I like blacked out because I just like it was so much noise coming in that I had no idea how like the rest of the shift went until I got on the bench. And I had like 3 guys like patting me on the back. They're like, good hit, good hit. And I'm like, wait, I hit a kid? Like I didn't even remember it happening. But I mean, those high school games, there's nothing like them. And I feel bad for everything going on right now because for those kids right now, like it is just something that you appreciate it once it's gone. Like when it's there, like it's funny because I remember having the seniors always tell me like appreciate it, like it's gonna be gone before you know it. And like those games, like that's just stuff that I think back of, and it's just an awesome and great experience to have playing high school hockey.
That's such a good first shift of your high school hockey. Like, do you know what I did my first shift? I separated my shoulder. I played one game of high school hockey my freshman year. I separated my shoulder. My dad got pissed off because the coach kept trying to play me with a separated shoulder.
Yeah.
He told me he's 14 years old. He can't go on the ice. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah. So I played.
It's not fun. I remember having I got a hip pointer. It was like my senior year or junior year, I forget now. But I tried to hip check a kid, and he went to go jump out of the way, and I caught his knee or his thigh right on my hip, and like I like down like a bag of bricks. And I remember like they like basically to carry me off the ice because I couldn't move my leg without having any like shooting pain. And I had this big, massive like black and blue like immediately. I remember them like getting taken to the hospital and being like my parents and like brother and thinking like they're like I had like ruptured my like kidney or something. Luckily it was nothing serious, but I mean like those high school games again, like they're not easy. Like they are hard hitting, like everything's physical. But like I said, like they're great times and some of the greatest hockey I've ever played.
And then so you move on to you play juniors for the New Jersey Rockets. You played your senior year, you played 10 games in the Met, the last year of the Met, and then you played the full season the next year, 2017. That's a pretty sick organization. For starters, they share a rank with the Devils in the NHL. You play at the Barnabas Health Pavilion or Center, whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
Was it pretty sick, like going to that facility? I know like tryouts one year was legit on a Devils game night. You took the train in with all the Devils fans.
Yeah, it was my first game actually ever playing junior, like my first junior game ever was at the Barnabas Health Center. And I remember like walking into the rink and being like, what am I doing here kind of thing? Like, am I even supposed to be here kind of thing? And I remember just sitting on the benches and just being like, you're like, what, like, how is this like a thing? Like, how are we like,
you're looking across at the retired jerseys for the Devils.
Like I'm like, they had the banners like up on the wall. And at one point, like I had like gotten like confused because I'm like looking up and I'm like, there's like that person's name, like there's like that banner, like and I'm like, next thing you know, someone's hitting me. They're like, dude, your shift's up, like go. And I'm like, oh. And I mean, like, it was just like the first game, it was just like you were like in a surreal place. Like it's just like you're looking down, like they had the Devils logo like on the ice too. Like it was their like it wasn't their actual facility, but it was their practice facility. But like it was just like a whole different thing. And I mean, it was just a great experience for us to be able to play there and have our games there.
Like people might not realize it's literally connected to the Prudential Center. So
Yeah.
you're walking in on game day and you're literally walking into an NHL arena for game day or for practice on a Wednesday night.
We had tryouts, and in the middle of tryouts, the second year, it was like the second day or third day we were having the tryouts, and any of the guys that had played previously were able to keep their equipment like in the locker rooms and like kind of keep them there. And I remember all of a sudden, like we're in the middle of a tryout and like I'm dying, like not even just like from like exhaustion and stuff, but it's like hot. And I'm like, dude, like what, did someone turn the heat on or something? And one of the guys are like, yeah, dude, like someone, like they were like the Red Wings are playing tomorrow night. Like we need to the so and so were like bringing in the equipment to air it out. Like they had to turn the heat up in the building like to 8 like or into that section for like 80 degrees. So like we played like the last like half an hour of practice, like getting closer to like 60 degrees or 70 degrees or whatever it was. And I remember like as we're leaving the locker room, like there was just like 7 guys like carrying like these bags with the Red Wings logos on it. And you're just like those are like, that's like guys' equipment that like they're then bringing in like in the back and they're walking right into the Prudential Center and that's where they're putting it. But I mean, it was crazy. And I even think there was not to jump ahead, but I mean, there was a Rutgers game that we played there, and the Devils like GM like was walking right through the rink. So it was just like I know enough of them for the Rockets that we never got that, but I mean like that's exactly how it was. I even think like one of the it wasn't me, but one of the other Rockets teams, their practice got like delayed because like this was when Yager was playing for them, and Yager needed to go like get warmed up or like do like some kind of training. And he literally was like, I need to go skate for an hour. And the game got delayed an hour because he needed to go onto the ice and like practice and train and like get his rehab in and stuff.
Could you imagine like showing up for a game, like you're getting all pumped up, you're mentally ready, and they're like, all right, it's delayed. And you're like, oh, like what? Is the ice broken or something? Like, is something going on? Like, no, yeah, I mean, Yager needs to skate for an hour before his game. Like that's unbelievable.
And there's just like, nobody's going to say anything. It's just like,
there we go.
Yeah, like nobody's gonna say anything.
14-year-olds.
Yeah, literally, kind of. Yeah, it was just. I mean, like, but things like that, it was just crazy. But I mean, no, it was an unbelievable facility. And just yeah, it was a great year. I mean, that first those 10 games, like it was like a real kind of like look, like you're in the big leagues now. Like as much as high school hockey was crazy, like you're playing against like men now. And I started when I was like 18, and I mean like. There was a couple like 19 and 20-year-olds that it was like they were like grown men I was playing against those 10 games. And I mean, it was like you're going into war against those guys.
And so you play those 2 years at the Rockets, move over to the Renegades. And I put it down here in my notes as the craziest move of your hockey career. I think anybody going to play for the Renegades has just made the craziest move. Not a good move, not a bad move, just a crazy move going to play for the Renegades, especially in that point in time. You had Pete Rossi on the bench. You had Cliff Graziano, the GM and owner. He was on the bench too. You had 2 assistant coaches who absolute characters. One of them coached with you at Hillsborough.
Yeah. So Chris Tommins was one of the assistant coaches, and he was my head coach my senior year, or sorry, he was my assistant coach my senior year. The year after I left, that's the when he took over the head coaching position for the Hillsborough hockey team.
Yeah, so it's just like an unbelievable. How did you move over to did Cliff scout you or something? Pete scout you? What happened?
So I was pretty friendly with Coach Tommins, who was the assistant coach. Um, and at that point, the Rockets and I kind of like didn't really see eye to eye on a couple things. They kind of went in their direction, I went in my direction. So at that point, like I was kind of like walking around, like I was like I had no idea where I was going to go. And Coach Tommins was kind of always like, even like the year prior, like he was like basically trying to get me to to accept a trade, to go play for like the Renegades for the back half of my second year. But I was just kind of like, I was the captain of the Rockets team that year. And I was like, look, I'm not leaving like these kids, like as much as like things are happening, like I can't just like bail these kids and bail the team and like go play somewhere else. Like I need to finish out this year. Um, but I had gone to the tryouts, everything worked well. I signed right away. But it was one of those things. It was like the rink was close. It was the rink I grew up in. It was like the rink that I started out with. So that kind of really did play a part of it. I wanted to kind of like end my junior career playing near home. I had a couple offers to go down to Florida, go out to Philly and stuff. But um, for my age out season, I was like, I want to stay close to home because I want to be able to have my parents like come to the games and watch them. And if I'm playing down in Philly, let alone Florida, like that might not be a thing for them. So that's kind of what made me choose the Renegades over the Rockets.
And so of course we're gonna go a little off topic for a second. We got there. We get to the start of the season. You're wearing number 83, and everybody had a number under 30. You had 83. You wore 83 with the Rockets. You see behind you, you've got an 83 Scarlet Knights jersey.
Yeah.
What's the importance of the number there?
So 83, like I wish I had a better importance behind it, but in all honesty, my first game ever playing travel hockey, um, which was crazy enough. I was a second year Bantam when I first started playing hockey at the travel level, and they didn't have any jerseys besides like 83 and like one or two other numbers, and they were asking me like what numbers I wanted. And I said, I was like, like, I think 11 would be good. Like 17 would be cool. Like maybe you guys can get me that. And they're like, okay, but like, it's going to take some time. Cause like we need to order the jerseys and stuff. But they're like, here's 83 for right now. You can wear it for your first game. I said, oh, okay. Like sounds good. And then coming in again, like first travel game, like ever playing, I scored 2 goals. And at that point I'm like, I think I'm good with 83. Like, I think I'm going to stick with this. And then just 83 kind of stuck. And to be honest, like from that point on, I was like, look, I'm fine with this because no one else really has 83. I don't really have to like fight or play rock, paper, scissors over 83 with anybody else that I'm playing with. So as much as I felt lucky with it, it was probably also one of those like, hey, like, I don't need to fight over this. So it'll be my number for the rest of my career.
Yeah, I went into my first choice was number 19, and they gave it to Alex Hoshino, who like he never played for the Renegades. He didn't have relationships. Mike played for the Renegades like every once in a while when he was at Hebron, and I was like, I'm getting 19. Like it's it. I've got the relationship with Pete. I've got some sort of relationship with Cliff. I've got it, and I show up. They give me my 5th selection of number 3, and I was like, all right, I guess I see how it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't get scratched ever. I
Yeah.
got hurt before that point came, but
Yeah. It's yeah. So I mean, like I can't complain with 83. It was a lucky number when I first got it.
So you get to the Renegades. Before we even play hockey, there's this showcase, USPHL spring showcase. You go up to Mass, you text the team group chat, you say, hey guys, I need 2 guys. I need you guys to come up to Massachusetts. This coaches select team needs two people, forward and a defenseman. So it ended up being me, you, and Scott Schnell.
Yep.
And I had such a bad tournament in that tournament. You guys played well. We won the showcase. We played against Mike. Mike was playing for the Eels. He had just aged out. He was going to go to Framingham State.
I remember playing against him, and there was a game that forget if I was playing forward or defense, but he was coming down, and I think I either made a bad chip in or I was playing like I just pinched too hard. I forget what it was, but I remember being against him, and I remember him getting a pass through me and them scoring the goal, and that was like our one and only loss from that tournament, and him skating right by
We
me and just
tied.
kinda
We
being like,
tied.
or yeah, a tie, whatever it was.
But
And I remember him just kind of giving him like a little nod to the head, and I'm like, there you go. Like, yeah, good.
that
Yeah,
that
thank you. You're
co-
welcome.
that coach looked at me. He goes, "Ezra, you're starting the game. It looks like your brother's out there." And I was like, "No, that's not a good idea." He goes, "No, you're starting the game." Mike walked the kid on the face off, went straight to my side, like it went to the right side, put it between my legs, walked right by me, and went bar down in the first shift of the game. And I went back to the bench, and I was like, "Dude, you're a fucking idiot. I told you don't put me out there against Michael." And we get to the third period. I get the puck on the blue line. I go to take a shot, and I fall over taking the shot. I don't know if you remember like how bad of a game that was.
I do. That was what it was, because I think I was either your D partner at that point on that shift or something else, because that was the play I was talking about. Was you fell down and Mike picked up the puck, and I had to go back, and I remember playing on a 2-on-1, and I just drifted too far over to his side, and he slid it right underneath. And as I was laying out, he slid it right underneath my body, and then the guy was back door, and he just basically tapped it in.
And you let me know too. You were like, "Dude, that was so bad."
I was like,
The other
oh,
team,
thanks for leaving me out here on a 2-on-1.
the other team, they're laughing at me like it's right in front of their bench. Like I'm nervous. You're like, "Fuck you, dude. You suck at hockey. How are you playing juniors next year?" And I'm like, I'm feeling so bad for myself.
Yeah.
We won the showcase. I mean, that's all that matters. I got
Yeah.
offered a trade from the Aviators.
Um,
I was the only one. You and Schnell were like, "What the fuck? Like,
yeah,
how did this kid get offered a trade?"
yeah, so I think Scotty and I were already signed, and because we were at the ages that we were, nobody was really talking to us, especially me as an age out. I think Scotty had 1 year left. I know you were as a first year player, like the teams were a little bit more willing to try to get a trade for a younger guy that they could develop. Um, Me as just an age out and had already signed a contract, they were like, unless you're going to be like this number one center, number one defenseman. They weren't going to even like offer it, even like consider it. But no, I remember that tournament. That was a crazy tournament. I remember playing with, at one point I was playing forward, and it was the championship game. And I remember lining up with, it was Jacob Slavin's younger brother who was in the USHL that I was playing. I on a line with, and, who was the other kid? But it was another kid that played for the Boston Rangers. It was like, again, like potentially going like the NAHL. And I'm just sitting here as like a junior B kid, just like playing with a tier 1, a tier 2 kid, like, hey, like I'll give you guys the puck like any day. But I just remember like sitting next to those guys and being like, why am I like playing with you guys right now? Like, you can find like someone else to be like maybe a tier 1 kid, maybe a tier 2 kid that's playing juniors that can play with these kids, like me out of all people. But I mean, those guys they were unreal. They were unreal players. I mean, that whole team again was crazy. And I remember we won the tournament, and it was the most anticlimactic celebration I think I've ever been a part of. Everyone got off the ice. Everyone got off the bench. Not a single person like dropped their sticks, dropped their gloves. Nobody took their helmet off. Like, it was as if like we had just like assumed that we were gonna win already. And it was just like we all walked over, like gave the goalie a little fist bump, and then lined up, and we're like, yep, okay, cool.
And that goalie, by the way, is playing at Fitchburg State now. Chris
Yeah,
Malone or
Chris
whatever.
Matone, yeah.
Yeah, I was in there. I saw he committed. I think it was like the year I was at Franklin Pierce, my freshman year, and I was like, really?
Yeah,
I'm gonna
he's a
go
great
play
goalie.
Division III hockey, and I'm sitting in my room, can't fall asleep because I'm not playing hockey anymore.
Yeah, no, he's doing great. I played with him. It was my, trying to think now, my one full season in the Rockets. That's how I met him. So the year going into the Renegades, that I had texted him, and I was like, hey, and that was that tournament. I texted him, I was like, hey, like they need a goalie. Like, do you want to play? And I remember the Friday and Saturday, he did not play too good at all. Like, it was like we kind of needed to bail him out. And then like Sunday came around, and like I think he let one goal in between both games, because we played the semifinals and the finals, and he let in one goal. So I mean, when it came time to win, like he came prepared. But I mean, he's a great goalie. I think he's even playing in he went down to Florida for like a Panthers development camp. But I mean, he's an unreal goalie. Like, to this day, probably one of the best goalies I've ever played with.
So we get to the Renegades season. We had that training camp. It was whatever. I mean, we're there. The season starts. Pete's already on my ass. I'm not playing how I played in the tryouts. Actually, first of all, let's go backwards. let's go backwards. I want to see your initial reaction to me. You met me at tryouts. I wasn't really trying out. I was just there to skate. I ended up getting a contract the night of the fight. Yeah.
I
With
remember I
Nick-
remember sitting on the bench and it was you and Mason Jenny, and somehow like there was like whispers going down the bench, and it was like, oh, like yeah, like this number and this number, they're gonna fight, they're gonna fight. And I'm like, dude, like you're gonna make these two like first year kids like get into a
I
fight.
asked for it.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, you were like asking for the fight, and I remember like Mason was just like, yeah, sure, like I'll do it. And I remember like then the whispers were going down about it happening, and I just remember sitting there. I'm like, dude, like I remember turning. I think it was Dugan at that point, and I turned to Dugan. I was like, dude, are we really gonna watch these like two like rookies like fight right now, like in this, like, oh really, like is this what we're gonna do right now? Like he's like, yeah, I mean I guess so. And I remember like I was like, oh, okay. And it was a pretty good one. You guys went for a pretty good while. And I got all the boys pretty hyped up. But yeah, it was pretty funny like watching it, because I'm sitting there and I remember just turning to Duke afterwards, and I was like, okay, well, I was like, they better make the team now at this point, otherwise I'm pissed they wasted this ice time.
So Mason and I played together the year before that. We played Americans at the Chiefs. And I actually didn't want to fight him. I skated up and down the ice the shift before that, screaming at Nick Morelli. I was like,
That
fight me, fight me, fight me, like just over and over and over again. I got back to the bench, and I forget the other assistant coach's last name.
Kreger.
Krager. I looked at Krager and I was like, dude, I want to fight. And he goes, that Morelli dude won't fight you. I said, no, but what about Jenny? I played with him last year. And he goes, all right, give me a second. He walks across, he walks behind the score box and goes to your bench. He goes, Mason, you're fighting. Next shift, line up on right wing. He came back and goes, all right, Ezra, you're a winger next shift. Go line up. And I looked at Mason and I was like, all right, you ready for this? And he absolutely whooped my ass. I got smoked in the fight, but he came up to me after the tryout and he goes, dude, you are so smart. Everybody's saying like, good job. Like we have so much cred now. And I was like, yeah, no shit, dude. I know what I'm doing.
I
He
do
said he
remember
wanted to fight.
I do remember that. I do remember Nick Morello. Like he was, I mean, that kid was as quiet could be, and was like the nicest kid. Like
I think I wanted to fight him.
I think he took one penalty all season. And I mean, that kid was as nice as could be and would never hurt a fly. So you were definitely barking up the wrong tree if you're trying to get a fight from that kid. But Mason was definitely a better choice on that one, because once you got him going, like he could swing.
Yeah, no, it was the wrong choice because I got my ass whooped. I wanted to look good, not get my ass kicked. But we get to the season, and it was a good year. I mean, we started out pretty hot. We were doing well. You were wearing the cage as an overager. But other than that, I think every other age out was wearing the maybe not Tom Brady to start. I think he wore a bubble to start, but everybody, like, it felt legit. It felt like we were a legit junior hockey team. You had cages, you had those visors, you had the healthy mix between veterans and rookies. You had two rookies. You had me and Matt Shamilia, who ended up getting traded at the end of the year to the Apple Corps with Fornavia. I mean, it was just an unbelievable year, unreal year through everything. I want to ask you though, where did Kiss Dads Not Girls come from? Because I all of a sudden I show up to practice one day and the team motto was Kiss Dads Not Girls. It was like Pete was saying it, John was saying it, you were saying it, and I'm like, I Kiss Dads Not Girls, I guess.
Oh man, this goes back with Jake Manente, who played the season prior, and then that year went to college and he played at Cortland. And during one of his shifts, he comes up next to the bench against someone else, and the kid starts like yapping at him or something, and Jake Manente just turns to him and just goes, dude, like, he was like, is that your dad over there, like in the stands, and points over to the stands. He was like, your dad is so hot, I want to kiss your dad. And the kid sat there and was just like, couldn't even like get any words out or anything. So at that point, like that was the kind of the motto from at that point, like just seeing what happened with that kid. And it was like something that kind of stuck around. It was like we're gonna kiss dads, not girls, kind of thing. And it just, yeah, from that point on, it just kind of stuck, and it just started trickling down throughout the team. But it's definitely one of the more unique mottos that I've heard.
I still have it, so obviously I don't play hockey anymore. It's still written on the top of my sticks. I have three. On the top it says Kiss Dads Not Girls. On the back it says next in all caps.
Oh
yeah.
Listen to Tom Brady. that kid was, like I said, like that whole team was full of personality and characters. I remember they would go through the starting lineup. Actually, before they even got to the starting lineups, we would go out, we would have our warm up, they'd cut the ice, he'd come back, and this kid would skate around the benches and keep his or skate around the ice, and he would hold his stick against the glass and have it smack against every stanchion. And it was just like, and he would go back
So loud.
across the ice and go and just do it right back again. And it was one of the loudest noises you would ever hear.
Just for no reason.
For no reason other to just make noise for just no reason. And then we would get to the lineups, and whether it was us first, them first, whatever it was, they would go to announce the kid's name, and right after this kid's name, he would just scream, "Next!" And we're just like, and then again, next kid's name come up, "Next!" And it was like for the first like 3-4 games, like it was like, dude, like what are you doing? Like what is this even, like what do you even, like what does this mean? But it was like and it was every single game he would do it, every single game. And
by the time those holiday jerseys came, there's a video from Hockey TV, and it's just, you hear them, and it's the kid. It's at Flemington. We're wearing our orange jerseys. I'm in the top, and it's just next. Every kid on the bench, next. Everything.
It was like towards the end of the season, like it was the entire team doing it. Like it was everybody doing it. And I just remember it was like one of those things, like it really kind of like brought everyone together, which is a kind of like a funny thing, but it was like something that was like got the team all together before the game. It was like, look, this is like our little ritual before every game. Like that's what we are as a unit going to be doing this. And I remember Pete and Cliff not really being fans of it at the beginning, but then towards the end they were like, okay, like this is just something that they were going to do. But I do remember hearing him for the first time. Just remember looking over to him. I'm like, dude, like what do you mean next with these kids? Like what? But I mean, like I said, that kid is a character and a half.
He is. And you mentioned Pete. Obviously, you played that year with Pete. You ended up going. He's now your coach at Rutgers, or he was your coach at Rutgers. You stuck with him for a while, and he's such a good coach. I know he coached with my father at the Chiefs. He coached with Mike at the Chiefs, and then obviously, like I played for him for 10 games at the Renegades, and it's just, he's an unreal dude on the ice, off the ice. He threw a cell phone one practice or game. Do you remember that?
Yeah. So I forget I think it was a game. I remember it was, I'm like pretty sure it was a game, and we just had a really bad period, and we came back in, and it was Sasha Pace, and Sasha Pace like pulls out his phone, and he had it like in his hand, and he was looking at something, and it was right as Pete was giving like his little like intermission speech. And I remember Pete walking up and just smacking it right out of his hand, and it flew across the room, and he exploded. And I mean, he was like already kind of mad, but he was like keeping it together up until that point. And the second he saw that, he just, again, like just volleyball smacked it across the room, and then just exploded at that point. And I remember he left the room, and we all were just like kind of sitting there looking at each other. And then we all just looked at Sasha, and Sasha just got right up, walked over, picked up his phone, walked right back and sat down. And then everyone just sat quietly.
That's tough. I was out on a road trip, so I missed the first one.
It was at a home game. It was at a home game. But
so
I remember that was the first one. I don't remember the second one. I mean, honestly, half the time he came into the locker room, he was pissed off. Whether we could have been winning the period by like 3 goals, and he came in, there was something that he was pissed off about. But I mean, like he expected perfection. He expected us to be skating hard. So whatever they were doing, they did a good job, because we were able to make the playoffs and do a pretty good job of it. So
I think that's what he does so well, though, is he has like a no bullshit mentality. And I think a lot of like teams this like nowadays, they have a lot of bullshit. I know some junior teams have problems with like half the kids smoke weed before the games.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, you're playing junior hockey, whether you're playing in the EHL Premier, you're playing in the USHL, you're there to win hockey games, smoking.
Exactly.
And Pete would flip out on kids. I know I did something not so great one night on a road trip with Alec Dugan. And I went downstairs, and Pete's a lawyer. And obviously, like, Pete knows my parents. I'm a 17-year-old kid. I'm not playing. And I come downstairs for breakfast, and he looks me straight in the eye and goes, "I know everything that happens on these road trips. And I got so scared, but like that's Pete. Obviously he didn't tell anything to my parents.
Yeah, I remember I got yelled at. I'm not sure if you were on this road trip, but it was the Vermont trip. It was one of our last ones. And it was the weekend of the Super Bowl. And it was also
Yes, that's the one. Yes.
and
Pat Brake pissed on the bathroom door.
And it just so happens that was also my 21st birthday. So again, as a kid, right, you're looking forward to your 21st birthday, and mine was on a Saturday, and we got up there, we played a game, we lose the first game, and remember we went out to a Chili's. So I'm spending my 21st birthday at a Chili's with 4 kids. And it was Dugan, Pat Brake, Jake Lucados, and I think it was just the 3 of us. So I think it was just the 4 of us at this restaurant. And I remember being like, I'm gonna order my first beer, like cool, like I'm legal, right? So I handed in. I had gotten 2 Blue Moons. Someone posted it or so whatever, however it got around. One of the guys on the team sees it. Pete sees it. And as I'm paying for the bill, I'm getting a phone call from him being like, where are you right now? I was like, I'm out at dinner with so-and-so. Like, we're going to be back in like
it's not even late. It's not even late.
It's not even like, it was like the first game was at like 3:00 or 4:00 in the afternoon, because we left at like 8 a.m. It's about 9 p.m., 8 p.m. And I'm like, Pete, like, I'm like literally paying a check right now for the like dinner. We just went down to the restaurant. Like, we'll be back in 10, 15 minutes. He was like, I saw what you post on. I saw what you post on social media. And I was like, Pete, like, I'm paying the bill right now. Like, can I call you back in like 30 seconds? Like, I'm like, the waitress was right there. He goes like, when you get back, come straight to my room. I walk right into his room. I remember him and Cliff sitting there and them ripping into me for going out and quote unquote drinking the night before. And I remember to this day, I looked at him. I was like, if you want to look at my bill, like, you can look at my bill. I was like, I got 2 beers at 8 p.m. on a Saturday night, the day of my 21st birthday. Our game is at 1:00 the next day. If you think I'm going to be hungover from 2 beers, like, we have an issue. Like, I have an issue, and then we have an issue. But I do remember, like, they were not happy about that, and they actually threatened to scratch me the next day because I was out drinking with quote unquote underage kids, even though it was all the other kids that I was with were either age outs or like a year below age outs. So I didn't have like you and like the other rookies.
Yeah, I mean, we were 17 years old. That's kind of stupid bringing us out there.
Yeah. Like, I brought out the other 20-year-olds who were going to be like 21 in like 5 months. But yeah, they were not happy about that one. I definitely got a good ripping into that one from that.
So we'll jump into Rutgers. So you get to Rutgers. You're doing community college while you're playing for the Renegades. Pete goes to Rutgers. You move over with Mason Jenny, Brian Frister, a couple guys go over. They have a good relationship. There was one other dude that played like half the year with us. He scored that power play, the goal against the Juniors. Tyler Allen. He played there with you too. What pushed you over to Rutgers? I mean, obviously you played for the Rockets, you played for the Renegades, you played high school hockey, obviously in Hillsborough. Now you stay in New Jersey, you go to Rutgers. Is location something that's big for you and just staying close to home?
It was definitely like that definitely played a big part. That's kind of, again, like how I picked the Renegades over some other teams, like, was just being able to be near home. So having Rutgers right here, like, that was huge. I had a couple Southern teams, Southern schools reaching out to me. I think I had one Northeastern ones. I honestly, like, I don't even remember the names at this point. It's been, it didn't really get too far into it, but I just remember, like, it was like one of those things. It was, unless it was close to home, like, I didn't really want to be a part of it. And I just kind of wanted to stay near home as best as I can. And when this opportunity like came up, I was like, hey, like, this is a good school. It's one of the best on the East Coast, if not in the nation. And I mean, hey, the hockey's just as good as some NCAA schools with some of the kids that we bring in, because on the team right now, I think we have about 6 or 7 junior players, and then probably another 10 or 12 tier 1 kids. And then, like, to fill out the rest of the roster, you got like 5 or 6 like really good high school players, like not just any old high school players, like these kids are good. And like they could have been playing junior hockey. So everyone on this team is in it, skilled, and are just workers. So it's a great team and a great school to be a part of.
Scott Schnell go there too.
Yeah, Scott Snell comes here now too.
So it's crazy to think because the way you mentioned it, yeah, because it could be like bottom tier NCAA Division III schools. You got guys. Mason Jennings probably could have gone and played in the EHL if he kept playing junior hockey. Brian Frister, 100 going to PDS, playing prep school hockey, playing junior hockey his senior year of high school. 100% could have gone and continued playing his junior hockey career.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Schnell, I think. I mean, first of all, New Jersey State high school hockey champion with Huntington Central while playing for the.
I think he had a hat trick in his championship game too. So I mean, that's a kid that's very skilled and could have done great things at junior hockey.
Top 10 in points in the league the year that I was there. I actually think he had more points. He was more effective on the ice than this kid we have at Franklin Pierce. One of the kids that is like a freshman at Franklin Pierce literally played against us, and it was like kind of a welcoming moment to me. Like, oh wow, your hockey career is over because now these kids are actually getting into school now. But it's so funny because ACHA hockey isn't bad hockey. It's just people who didn't want to necessarily continue without school.
Yeah.
Prolong while putting off the start of their life pretty much in the real world. It's not bad hockey at all.
No, and the other thing to me, it was it's very good hockey. It's great hockey. But as someone that lives in New Jersey, like paying public school prices, in-state tuition compared to going out of state, and most of these D3 schools are private schools. So the price difference, like before you even look at anything else, like the price difference from a private school out of state to a public school in state is like almost half, like per year. So that was a huge thing as well. It was just like I'm paying whatever amount of dollars. It's like I would have been paying like $60,000-$70,000 a year to go play at D3, where you're not going to get a scholarship at all. So like that was a big thing to me, was being able to stay in state, obviously. And then also the fact that like you're still saving, like you're saving quite a bit of money coming to a ACHA school who's in state and is a public school.
And going a little bit farther with that. So you're the team treasurer.
President actually now.
President. There you go. So that's a resume builder. You're playing hockey, you're having fun, you're doing what you love, you're close to home, you're paying lower tuition, and now I'm the president of the ACHA Division II club hockey program I don't know if you play for the Division I squad now.
Just the Division II for right now.
But like that's huge. Do you run the social media accounts?
It definitely is an interesting role. I kind of was, I wouldn't say thrown into it. I kind of more or less threw myself into it. After my first year, there was a kid that came in and he wanted to be the president because he was the VP the year before. And he kind of just, all of a sudden things happen and something with his personal life, everything's good now, but he kind of just like wasn't able to keep everything together. And I kind of just threw myself in there and I was like, okay, well, like, look, I'm just going to I'll take it over and I'll just take it from here. And I had to have a negotiation with the rink GM for a $35,000 rink contract. And I had to basically go through the whole negotiation of like, these are the game times we need. Here's the practice times, game dates, practice dates, fundraising, locker room. And I mean, like, as like a kid that's 22, 23, like you're sitting next to a guy that's like been doing this for 40 years, 30 years. Like, you think I'm going to have experience and know what to do compared to this guy? Like, he could have easily just taken advantage of me and just been like, nope, this is what we're going to do. Like, blah, 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 blah. But it was definitely like one of those things, like it was a real world experience and it was like a wake up call. Even like having to deal, like I had to handle the budget for the team, pay for buses, pay for the coaches, pay for the league. I had to interview coaches. Our assistant coach, the year after I took over, like he left. And I remember having to interview like 4 or 5 coaches about an internship. I remember having to interview coaches about assistant coaching positions, like 4 or 5 of them. And it was just like you're sitting there again, like 22 years old, has never interviewed anybody for a paid position at that point, and been like, hey, like, why should we pick you? And this guy who's, we actually interviewed Rob Broderick, who's coaching the Maryland Black Bears right now. And it was like, hey, like, why do you think we should pick you? Like, what makes you a good candidate? And he could have easily been like, dude, like, look at my resume. Like, what do you mean why? But it was being the president of the Rutgers hockey team. Like, it is an amazing opportunity. And some of the lessons I've learned from it are just, you're never going to get anywhere else. And even now, currently, I was able to be lucky enough that I joined the sports club council here at Rutgers, and I'm one of 5 students out of all of the club teams here at school, out of the about 1,000 kids. And we basically handle with the school directly, and basically set up rules, guidelines, and allocate money to all the clubs that are at Rutgers. So I mean, it is opened so many doors and given me so many experiences and lessons learned while I having my time here at Rutgers. So it's awesome.
And it's obviously, so you're in your senior year now. You're finishing up. What's coming next for Nick Monticchio?
Sadly, the real world. I wish I could get another year in. Sadly, our year was canceled this year, so I haven't been able to get my final season in, which is a bummer. But the real world's coming up. I was studying business here, so I'm hoping to get a job in the business field after I graduate here. This semester, I'm working for I'm working an internship for an Australian company remotely. So it's going to be a little bit of a grind here for the semester, but hoping to find a job here and get into the real world and start grinding it out.
I think that's the best way to do it. Grind it out and fucking make a living. Exactly what we've been doing.
Yeah.
Whether you're the king of the scratches in my terms, or if you're an alternate captain and a vet leading the boys into battle every night in your terms. So Ticco, thank you so much for coming on. Unbelievable, unreal, sitting down for 45 minutes, just chilling out, talking
Thank
about
you, my man.
and enjoying it. So
I appreciate it.
I'll let you know when it goes up, and until then, I'll see you later.
Thank you, my man.